Welcome to the Nerdstalgic podcast with your host, the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm. Nerdstalgic with the Ginger Bookworm.
Howdy folks, and welcome back to another exciting special episode of the Nerdstalgic podcast with me, your host Luke. Hope you're doing well, hope you're all good. Welcome to part 2 of my super nerdy news wrap-up. The last one that I did was a couple of months ago, but I thought I'd do a part 2. I'd bring it back for all the amazing, well, in all fairness, let's just take a break. Let's slow down a bit, right? And just embrace the amazing epicness of what Marvel announced last night at San Diego Comic-Con. I stayed up till about 2:30 last night watching it, and then I just passed out. I woke up this morning and I found that I had missed their whole sort of Black Panther sort of announcement. Well, I knew it was coming, but the Black Panther trailer and all that, so I quickly caught up this morning, and I figured I'm in such a happy mood, I'm in an excited mood. Why wait? Record it to the day after, get it out, and just revel in such epicness. Really, I just want to swim in it. I feel like Scrooge McDuck. Where he jumps into the giant pool of gold. Well, that's me. I want to jump in. I just want to swim in the news. It just feels so good, and I feel so good about what's announced, and I can't wait to express that love and passion with you guys. But before I do that, I've got to do business, right? We got to do business first, because business is what pays the bills. Even though I'm not getting paid for it, I'm generally just doing it because I love the company. But business first, and then fun times after. So, firstly, business. So, if you've been listening to any of my episodes recently, you will know that World of Books has decided to sponsor this episode, as well as every other episode, as well as the show. And within doing so, because they're such lovely, wonderful people, they have decided to give me a 10% code to give to you guys, so that you can get 10% off at any of your orders. So when you go to checkout, put in the code NERDY10, that's NERDY 10, all higher case, and you get 10% off your anything you buy. World of Books, I've said this before, but for anybody who's new, just listen to this episode. World of Books is a company that takes books and video games, vinyl records, and just takes them away from charity shops and stops them going from landfills, and just recycles them. Repackages them, refurbishes them as best as they can, looks after them, and then gives them a new home. Right? Hopefully, you folks. So that's World of Books. That's just a brief explanation, mainly because I've got a lot to talk about today. But definitely check out World of Books. Get yourself 10% off at anything that you want to buy from them, from their store. Just make sure when you buy off them, you buy off their website at www.wob.co.uk, or just type in Google World of Books and you should find them there. Like I said, they do video games, movies, vinyls, books. I mostly buy a lot of books from them. I've actually bought a book from them quite recently, which hopefully when it comes, I will... if you follow me on Twitter, you will see I will announce it and just talk about it there. But when you get to checkout, remember to put your code NERDY10, NERDY, to save 10% off your next shop. So that's the business down. So business is over. Now on to the fun stuff. So, as I said, a lot was announced. Monumental. Yeah, is that a word? I don't know. I'm kind of tongue-tied because I'm really, really excited. So I'm going to try my best to slow down, think of what I'm going to say, and then say it. But it was just an incredible amount of, a deluge, shall we say? That's a better word. A deluge of information was spread all over us by the Lord and Savior, Kevin Feige. And just from Comic-Con in general, DC did theirs. There was a lot from DC, to be honest. They showed... I'm tongue-tied because I'm so excited. I'm sorry. Please bear with me. It's the passion and it's the love. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came out and he was promoting Black Adam. They showed a new trailer which looked quite good. I'm still not quite sold on Black Adam. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the character and I love The Rock. You know, I love them both, and I know whenever Rock is ever in a movie, you know it's going to be a multi-million to billion-dollar movie. You just know it's going to do well. But the thing is, the reason I'm not enjoying it is mainly because currently with the DCEU, I'm not a fan of their movies as of late, you know, especially with the whole Ezra Miller thing and the way Warner Brothers has handled it and not dealt with it at all. Like, the way they've dealt with it is not by dealing with it, and all the other stuff like that. I'm just not excited for what's coming next with the DCU. But I hope with Black Adam and with Shazam, that and the new Aquaman movie, those things start to change. But they showed the Black Adam trailer, which looked quite good. You got a little bit more of Black Adam being Black Adam with his lightning abilities, you know, being sort of the anti-hero. So it looks good. There's not really much to say about it for me because I'm not that excited about it, but I just wanted to bring it up anyway. They also had the Shazam 2 um, trailer, which again looked really, really good. I like Shazam 1. To be honest, if I'll you know, I'll go out on a limb and say Shazam was probably one of the best movies that the DCU have done, next to Man of Steel and Aquaman. You know what I mean? So for me, it's Shazam. No, actually, tell her. I'd say it's Man of Steel, Shazam, then it's Aquaman, and then the rest is all fodder, really. Because Man of Steel's great. You know, Henry Cavill as Superman, excellent. The Rock, go back to Dwayne Johnson, he did sort of hint that we might see, you know, Superman in it. He didn't say specifically that we would, but he hinted that we might see it. And I would be excited. Like, if I won't go to watch this movie day one, but if people go to see it and they say, "Oh, it's amazing, Henry Cavill's in it and he fights Black Adam," then by all means, I'm excited and I will probably want to go watch it. That will get me in the cinemas to watch it, you know, something like that. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not excited, because again, we don't know who the villain is. Is the villain Black Adam, or is there a bigger threat? You know what I mean? Like, what is the story? It's like, yeah, you've just shown me action, but I want to know what the story is. You know, Shazam, for example, did that. You know, Shazam showed that in the Shazam trailer. You saw the comedy, you saw the them taking the formula that they've created with Shazam 1, and then now beefed it up and made it better. And that you've got the villains, um, Helen Maria Carter. Is it Helen Maria Carter? Is it? I don't know. I'm messing up the names, really. But you know, you can see the villains in it, and it looks great. It looks fantastic, and I'm excited to see, you know, where Shazam 2 goes. But the reason I bring it up, I know I'm supposed to be talking about Marvel here, but I only bring it up because they didn't talk about a lot of things. They didn't announce a lot, and I figured, you know, just give it a quick mention if anybody's interested who's not so interested in Marvel. I figured I would talk a little bit about DC. As you can tell, I'm not that excited about what they've got to show. That being said, it's still nerdy news, so I figured I would mention it here. So that's it for Marvel. I mean, that's it for DC. As for Marvel, it's not over. Marvel's got a shit ton of things. To be honest, they blew everybody out of the water, and they do every year. Every time they go to Comic-Con, they blow everybody out of the water. I didn't think they were going to show it as much as they did, and I promise I will get into it in a minute. But I want to say that I didn't think that they were going to mention and talk about as much as they did. I thought that because Disney has their own sort of D23, their own version of Comic-Con, that Marvel would be there, and that's where they would do the big sort of announcements, and they'd show all, you know, all the trailers and stuff like that. Because that's just what Disney does. Disney likes to one up. Disney likes to be like, well, you know, you have this, but here's us, and we do it 10 times better. So I thought, you know, they'd say that for them. And then obviously last night, staying up and waiting for the announcements, and they all started flooding out, and I just had to write as many down as possible, because there's a lot here. I was gobsmacked, and it makes me wonder, and it makes me more excited for D23 near to the end of the year, when Marvel comes out, when Kevin Feige comes out, and they start talking about it, and they maybe go into more detail about what comes next, and they might talk about things that they left out, or things that they're excited to announce, but they weren't ready to announce then, you know. So maybe more Deadpool, because sad we didn't get any Deadpool, no mention of that, which I will get onto it. But yeah, they just went ham, you know. So let's get into it, shall we? You know, let's stop my rambling. Let's stop me sort of, you know, give me a moment to calm down and hopefully get less tongue tied. And yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So, where to start? Where to begin? Well, let's start at the end, really, because it's the end of an era. It's the end of Phase 4. So Phase 4 is done. It ends with the final two projects. She-Hulk coming in August, and then you have Wakanda Forever coming in near to the end of the year. That will end off Phase 4. So that's like Shang-Chi, Black Widow, Loki, WandaVision, Doctor Strange, Thor: Love and Thunder, the Eternals. I think that Black Widow, all those films. That's it. It's over. Phase 4 is over. So I'll be honest. Looking at Phase 4 and looking at back of what we've had, it seems a bit bare. Even though there's been a lot, it seems quite bare when you look at it. Like they did a big sort of as Marvel always does at these things. They always do it on the big screen. They show a timeline and they show the different sort of projects. And you look at all the years prior, it seems quite sort of small really from what we've got compared to when you look at what they're doing for phase 5 and 6, especially phase 5. It seems quite bare that we didn't get a lot. And for a long time, a lot of people, and I've heard it, a lot of people say, and me personally, I never lost faith. I never lost faith in Kevin Feige because I knew how clever this man was. You know, to be honest, you have to be clever and know what you're doing to get this far and to be as successful as the MCU has been. And I understand where a lot of people have seen Phase 4 and go, it's a bit weak, it makes no sense, it doesn't, there's no coherence. And the way I like to think about it, looking back on it now of what we've had. Granted, I haven't seen Thor: Love and Thunder yet, but from what I've heard and looking back what I have seen, that Phase 4 is the setup. Phase 4 is like Phase 1. It's the build up to the Avengers. You know, if that's what Phase 1 was, the Phase 1 was the build up to the Avengers, to getting them all together. Phase 4 is the build up to the multiverse. And that was announced as well, that the multiverse saga has begun and will begin. Well, it has already begun, but like it's going to properly come into force mostly Phase 4 and Phase 6. And that's what it is. And I understand for a lot of people, you know, because the new movies that came out and the new shows, they changed the formula, they changed the game, they tried something new, and that happens. You know, if you're doing a book series or a TV show or whatever it is, because nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been this many consecutive movies all interconnected. It's never happened before, right? But it has happened before in TV shows. It's happened before in video games. It's happened before in books. And the thing is, whenever you get a new book in the series or whatever, right, you have to keep reinventing it. You keep the same flavor and you keep the same sort of world, but you've got to mix it up to keep the audience interested, you know. And that's what they were doing. You know, they were trying new things, they were trying different things, and sometimes they landed, sometimes they didn't. But I never lost faith in Kevin Feige because I knew that this was just the planning stage. This was the stage. This is setting the foundations of what is to come next. Especially, you know, you watch Shang-Chi, and then you watch WandaVision, and you watch Miss Marvel, and then you notice the little bits, and then you realize, oh, they're all hinting to the fact of the Marvels, Captain Marvel 2, that comes out next. You know, um, uh, Multiverse of Madness, that hints at what, you know, what will come next with the whole sort of going through the multiverse and Kang, and you've got Loki as well going for different timelines, different dimensions. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's all interconnected. When you reflect on it, when you're living it, you don't see it. It's not until it's over that you look back on it and you realize, oh, actually, it was a lot more in depth than um, I thought. And I feel like that's what's going to happen. Really, I feel like in a couple of years, when this, like when She-Hulk comes out and Wakanda Forever finally ends sort of this phase, I feel like people are going to look back on this sort of era and they're going to go, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense. I can see where it all leads, and I can see where it all sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It's all interconnected. It all makes sense now because I can look back at it. Yeah, hindsight is a beautiful thing because hindsight allows you to look back and reflect on things that you couldn't see at the time. You know, so I know a lot of people have lost faith for Kevin Feige in the MCU, but trust me, you know, from what they've done, it all makes sense when I get onto phase 5 and I start listing some of the things and talking in depth about what comes next. But I am looking forward to She-Hulk. As I've mentioned loads of times, I am a simp. Hopefully that's the right word. I have a huge crush on She-Hulk. I really, really do. Um, I just love anything to do with Hulk, but She-Hulk, I hopefully, and I'll mention it later, but hopefully Betty Ross comes back, because in the comic books, Betty Ross, she becomes the She-Red Hulk, because her dad, General Ross, he becomes Red Hulk, and then Betty Ross becomes She-Red Hulk, and Red Hulk, She-Red Hulk, Betty Ross, and She-Hulk. Oh God, I would just have a nerdgasm like none that's ever been seen. Like it will be like Krakatoa exploding. The world will shake. Maybe a bit too graphic, a bit too TMI. I do apologize for that, but my world will be sort of just cracked wide open. It'll be World Breaker Hulk. I'm going to crack the earth in two. You know what I mean? But I do look forward to seeing what they do with She-Hulk, which I will talk a bit more about She-Hulk and the new trailer coming out in a minute. As for Wakanda Forever, again, I look forward to seeing what they did there. One thing I will mention here is that I have been a very naughty boy. I do want to come clean about something. I've been a very naughty boy, and I have been on Reddit. And you should never really go on Reddit. Reddit should just be for memes. But I went on there and I read two articles that I shouldn't have read, but I did. Basically, they were leaked synopses, leaked sort of story details of what's going to happen in Black Panther 2 and Ant-Man 3. Now, before anybody starts panicking and starts shutting off the podcast and running away, I will say I won't share any of the details that I read. I won't mention it. I won't talk about any of it at all. Mainly for two reasons. One, I don't like spoilers, and I don't like spoiling things for people. And two, it might be complete bullshit, or it might not be. That's the thing. Whenever you read on Reddit, it's like going on Wikipedia. Take everything you read with a grain of salt, and wait. Just do your own research. You know what I mean? But I have read it. For what I read of what Wakanda Forever, it sounds interesting. Not all, and some of the things that I saw in the trailer kind of added sort of a bit more sort of weight to what I read. Again, I won't go into much detail about it, but it seems interesting. I wasn't a big fan of Black Panther, I will be honest. I love Chadwick Boseman, and I love the villain in that movie, but I just wasn't a fan of the movie, sadly. But I look forward to seeing what they do next with the Black Panther sort of mythos and lore. I am sort of against the idea. Kevin Feige mentioned this a few times. They don't want to recast the Black Panther, that the Black Panther will always be Chadwick Boseman. I completely understand that and I respect that. But I just feel like unless they bring like Suri in as being the next Black Panther, I feel like, you can't have Black Panther without Black Panther. You can have the world of Black Panther, but you can't have Black Panther, So I hope that Suri, she does become the Black Panther, the white Black Panther. I think it's the white Black Panther, or is that, I can't. I say I'm not really good when it comes to Black Panther lore. I haven't really read many of Black Panther stories. Only really when Black Panther appears in other stories. But I know there is a white. I think it's called the White Panther or the White Tiger. Um, I think that might be Black Panther's wife. I think she takes the role of that, or Suri's. I'm not really good on the lore of Black Panther, like I said. But either way, I hope she ends up taking up the mantle, and then we have a new Black Panther, and maybe that's what will be halfway through the movie or by the end of the movie. We'll see. So yeah, so that's the end of Phase 4. Phase 5 is jam packed. There is a shit ton, a metric shit ton of information here to get through. So, like I said, starting off, beginning of Phase 5, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That comes out on the 17th of February 2023. One thing I do want to mention with any of the dates I mentioned here, they're all privy to change. Like I said, we didn't know COVID was going to happen, and COVID pushed back a lot of the Phase 4, so those dates changed there. I'm not saying another COVID thing's going to happen, but dates change, movies from other studios get announced, and Marvel and Disney and all other companies tend to change the dates. They're not competing, so they have their own week or two to kind of stand on their own feet. So all these dates are privy to change, so take that again with a grain of salt. But this is what Marvel has announced as of now. So Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania comes out on February the 17th, 2023. As I mentioned, I read this story synopsis of this film. And this one really does excite me. Like I've been an Ant-Man fan since the beginning. A lot of people kind of poo on Ant-Man, and I don't understand as to why. Because the first movie was a heist movie, and it was done really, really well, and it was quite funny. And the second movie, granted, I will admit, the second movie was mostly just there to set up, Endgame. But that being said, again, it's still a good movie. Ghost was a good character. We got hints of we got more Giant Man. We got more Goliath. It was just it was funny. And we got to see a bit more of the quantum realm and how it works. And I knew as soon as they mentioned the quantum realm, we were going to get Kang, and I'll get onto that in a minute. Now we're on to the Quantum Mania, and we're going into the Quantum Verse, and this is where Kang lives. Like I said, if you go back to Loki, I did this whole. I don't know if I did it here or I might have done it on my Instagram, but I did a whole sort of breakdown, the whole idea of Kang, and that if you've watched Loki season 1, that Kang was running the TVA, and the TVA is located in the Quantum Verse, right? And if you watch, it's a scene that you have to kind of see, like if you can find a still frame of it. It's a blink and you miss it, sort of like snapshot in the background. But in Ant-Man 2, when Hank Pym is going into the Quantum Verse to save his wife, right in the background there is a city, or like what looks like skyscrapers in the background. Obviously, this was before Loki. This movie came out, so they didn't really have it in full detail. But there is a city in the quantum realm, and it wouldn't surprise me if that city doesn't have the TVA in it. And they're going to go back into the quantum realm, and they're going to meet Kang. They're going to fight Kang. Kang's going to be the villain. That's been announced. So again, nothing I'm going to say is spoilers. This is all what's been announced, so nobody has to panic and worry. So they're going to be fighting Kang. They're going to be fighting the city, and then Loki comes in later, which I will get onto that in a minute. But Loki will come season 2 later in the year, which I hopefully will follow on the story of that, and we'll get more Kang in there. MODOK has been announced as well, so I look forward to seeing MODOK. They haven't announced who the actor is yet, but I'll be honest, I don't know who would do a good sort of MODOK, really. There's so many amazing actors out there. I have faith that whoever they choose is going to be a good idea. I have a theory who I think might be MODOK, who might be cast as MODOK, but I don't want to say it because it might be spoilers, so I'm not going to say it, who I think might be. But if it does get announced, I will sort of let everybody know on my Twitter. Just keep an eye out there. I have a feeling we're going to hear about the announcement either quite soon or at D23, but I feel like I have a feeling who might be. And if I am right about this theory, this hasn't been written anywhere, by the way. This is just a theory. The reason I'm not saying it is because if I'm right, it's quite clever. And if I am right, it makes a lot of sense, and it ties in quite nicely with Ant-Man 1. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to move any sort of further on it. But I do look forward to seeing what they're going to do with Ant-Man Quantumania. I'm just really looking forward to see Kang. Kang the Conqueror, we had a hint of him in Loki, right? But this is going to be the evil Kang. The Kang that we met in Loki was kind of the best of both worlds. He wasn't evil and he wasn't overly good. He was just, he was good chaotic. You know what I mean? He was just the balancing point. And then when Suri, again, it's going to be spoilers if you haven't watched Loki, but really you should have watched Loki by now. But when Suri killed him, he even said to her, like, if you kill me, this is just going to start another multiverse war. And I look, and fucking, we haven't even got onto the multiverse war yet. Like, this multiverse war is going to happen again. And I can't wait for this multiverse war. It's going to be, like, think of Endgame, but bigger. You know what I mean? That Endgame battle, but bigger. Another multiverse war is going to, that's what, well, we'll get onto it. Trust me. As you can tell, I'm really excited and really passionate. So I do apologize. But yeah, I just, when Suri killed him and he said, you kill me, it's going to start another multiverse war and there's going to be another Kang. And he's going to be, it could be a lot worse than I am. So she does. Loki then gets sent back to the TVA, and then Ghost talks to Owen Wilson's character, and they don't remember him because time has changed. The timeline has been changed, and that they find that it's no longer the oh god, the celestial, well, not celestial. I can't remember what they were called now, but like kind of the creatures that overlook it is now Kang. Kang is the evil Kang. So I look forward to meeting the evil Kang and seeing what they do. Like I'm just really really excited because Kang is such a deep cut. Kang is a character that I never thought that they would really do, mainly because it's really hard to do that character because there's again he's a time traveler from the far future. He's related to Reed Richards. He's like the great grandson of Reed Richards, from the Fantastic Four. The guy's really really intelligent. He is a master strategist. He travels through time in a giant spaceship that looks like a fucking sword, right? It's crazy. It gets really, really crazy and saying, look, this is really deep Jack Kirby, but comic book sort of lore I'm getting into here, right? I never thought they would do it. He hops from the multiverses. The guy is literally an impending threat no matter where he goes. Like he is on the level of Thanos. Maybe you could even say worse because he could just destroy dimensions and timelines and make sure you never existed. So he is like an omega level threat, if to kind of hint at the X-Men. So I look forward to seeing what they do. I really really do. I'm really excited there. So next one we have Secret Invasion. That comes spring 2023. That is going to be on Disney Plus. Secret Invasion looks really really interesting. You're going to bring back Nick Fury. Nick Fury's coming back, and we're going to have the Skrulls. Obviously, I don't know what they're going to really do. Are they going to have Super Skrulls in it? Are the Kree going to be in it? They haven't really announced anything because obviously in the comic books the Skrulls are evil. The Skrulls are shape-shifting sort of creatures, as we've seen from Captain Marvel, but they are evil. But obviously in the MCU they've been changed to being good guys. So I have a theory that what they might do is they're going to bring in the Super Skrulls, which is going to be the evil version of the Skrulls. The Super Skrulls are exactly like what you get with the normal Skrulls. They can shapeshift, but the only difference is they can shapeshift into superheroes and steal their powers. And they did it with the Fantastic Four, and they did it with the Avengers and stuff like that. So this would then come into sort of the whole idea of the secret invasion of like who to trust. Who is who. Is Hawkeye Hawkeye, or is Hawkeye dead and he's really a Skrull? Again, it's these sort of things. Like in the comic books, it was turned out that well, this might be a bit of spoilers, but this story is from a long time ago. But it was turned out in the comic books that Elektra, she died, and when she died, she turned into a Skrull, and it turned out this whole time that Elektra, for this whole story arc, wasn't Elektra, that she was a Skrull, and I've been waiting for that moment for ages since they mentioned the whole idea of Skrulls. Nearly every sort of project and movie that the MCU have done since, I've been waiting for a character to die and turn into a Skrull just to kind of begin it. That hasn't happened as of yet, but with this Secret Invasion coming in, hopefully we have Super Skrulls, and then we bring in the Kree, and then we bring in the giant sort of Kree sort of Sentinel sort of things. Bring those in, and we could even bring in the Inhumans. Probably won't, because we all know Kevin Feige's kind of like pushed the Inhumans to one side, and we've just kind of best to forget them. But again, that being said, I look forward. Like, there's not much to say about it because there's not much really known about it. But I am excited to see what they do for Secret Invasion. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That comes next, and then that comes out on the May the 5th, 2023. Again, I'm really, really excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, primarily because of the fantastical, amazing sort of cast that not just James Gunn's put together, but how real and how sort of the chemistry is just incredible. James Gunn is a fantastic writer and director. So knowing that he was going to come back and to finish his trilogy off was really, really nice. And then we've got Will Poulter. I'm a huge Will Poulter fan. He's coming to play Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is a fantastic character, so that's amazing, and I'm excited for what comes next out of that. You know, then we've got, I didn't mention it, but we've got I Am Groot. That comes out. That's a short that comes out. I think at the end of near the end of this year, so that'd be really really good. I think around Christmas time that comes out. Um, and then you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which oddly enough I've just realised that wasn't mentioned, and I'd wonder why that film wasn't mentioned, unless they've pushed it back. I do think that film's coming. That TV show, the short film, is coming out um, this year on Disney Plus. I don't know. That's quite odd. I wonder why they didn't mention it. Maybe because it leaks into Phase 5. I don't know. But either way, I look forward to those two specials, and then you watch them, and then that will sort of bring into Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just really looking forward to see what they do with Adam Warlock. You know, are they going to bring in Nova? Because we all know the Nova Corps were destroyed, and that kind of happened in the comic books. The Nova Corps were destroyed. I think it was the Kree that kind of destroyed the Nova Corps, and to kind of counteract that, to kind of battle against that, they correct using the world sort of. I'm trying best how to explain it. They basically brought their own sort of superhero, which was Nova, and hopefully, that sort of Nova is Richard Rider. So I look forward to seeing what they do. Again, there's not much about it. There's not much sort of mention of it. But from playing the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, playing the Guardians of the Galaxy game by Square Enix last year, that's really sort of pumped me up for whatever comes next. And I will happily replay the Guardians of the Galaxy game before the movie comes out just to get me pumped up again. But again, there's not much to say about the movie. They haven't really announced anything. They did show some footage at the convention, but none of that, they've said none of that will be released anytime soon. They showed footage of Rocket, and they showed footage of Adam Warlock, which that's what I'm most looking forward to. I just want to know what the costume looks like. I know Will Poulter; he's a fantastic actor. I've been following him since he was. It's going to sound really creepy, but you need to remember, I was a young lad. I was a young being. Will Potter was older than me, so I was very little when Will Potter came out on the scene as an actor. So when I say this, it's not creepy. But I've been following Will Potter's career since he was very young in School of Comedy till where he is now. So I know he's a very fantastical sort of actor. So I know he will do the character justice. I just want to know what he will look like. Are they going to go full comic book accurate? Or are they going to embellish things? Are they going to change things? Is he going to be completely gold, like the big golden boy? How are they going to do it? That's what I'm looking forward to. So I kind of wish that they had shown something. They would at least released a bit of concept art or a still being like, this is what Adam Warlock looks like, you know. But kind of the perks of going to Comic-Con, you get to see all these things for everybody else. So you win some, you lose some. Anyway, so the next one is Echo, coming out summer 2023. That's going to be on Disney Plus. I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to Echo. Echo is going to follow on with the character from um, Bishop, the Hawkeye TV show. I was going to say Bishop in Hawkeye, but that's not what it was called. But the Hawkeye TV show, the character who was deaf, it's going to follow on with her. Now we are going to see Daredevil and Kingpin back in that series. I don't know how much of there's going to be cameos or they're going to be there all the way through, but I'll watch it for that. But if I'm being honest, I'm not that excited about it. I'm just not that interested. I feel like it'd be interesting what they do. Mainly, I'm not interested because I'm not interested in the character. I liked the Hawkeye TV show to a point, but there were certain things that I didn't like, and her character was something that just didn't win me over. I liked the fact that they brought in sort of the character, they brought in the character, and I loved the deaf representation. I thought that was actually beautifully and fantastically done. But the character itself, I'm just not a fan of the character. But the series is called Echo. Daredevil uses echolocation in his own sort of way. It's kind of interesting. He's blind and she's deaf. So they both have what the other lacks. She has the sight, but she can't hear, so she has to locate her own way. He can't see, but he can hear really well. You know what I mean? So if they use that and they play on it, it might be interesting. Again, bringing Kingpin out. I love Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, but I like the Netflix version of him. I don't really like the MCU version of him at the moment. But we only saw him for a bit. We didn't get to see a lot of him, so I trust in Vincent D'Onofrio. Again, he's a fantastic actor. So I trust Kevin Feige in the MCU that they will do it right. So I have feelings that, fingers crossed, it will be a good show. But until we see a trailer, I'm going to be on the fence about it, if I'm being honest. Next, you've got Loki season 2 that comes out summer 2023. That's going to be on Disney Plus. Again, Loki season 2, don't know anything about it apart from the way Loki sort of season 1 ended, which was where Surrey was out in the Kang sort of fortress, and Loki was sent back to the TVA. Nobody remembers him. The timelines change. Kang's now in power. X, Y, Z. You know, I have seen sort of like I know they're currently. I don't know if they're still filming, but a week or two ago they was filming in London some scenes for Loki season 2. So they're currently still sort of filming it. So there's nothing really to show. But from what I've seen from the stills, it looks interesting. It looks like they're going back to the old not Victorians, the old sort of old-fashioned sort of times. The whole sort of, I'd say 1920s, 30s sort of New Yorkish sort of look. So again, not really much to say, but I look forward to it. Then you've got the Marvels coming out July 28, 2023. Again, another thing that I'm very, very excited for. Especially, like, I was a fan of Captain Marvel. I thought Captain Marvel was a good film. Again, like Ant-Man, it doesn't get as much love as it deserves. But I feel like with the Marvels, I feel like it's going to sort of blow people away. We had Proton, I think her name's Proton or Photon. Monica Rambeau, she was shown in WandaVision. So we've now got the one Marvel. Now we've got Captain Marvel. So that's two Marvels, and then we've got Ms. Marvel with her powers. And obviously at the end, well, again, I'm not going. Well, it's. Is it too soon to mention it? All right, all right. I was going to say no. I'm going to say spoilers for Ms. Marvel. So if you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen the end of Ms. Marvel, by all means go watch it because it's a really good show. You really should watch it. It is a very, very good show. It falls, it falls. It's not like the ending's not so great, like it's fantastic, but like they don't do that well at the end of finishing it, again, mainly because it was only 6 episodes and really it should have been 8 to 10. But that being said, it was a good show and you should watch it. But I'm going to say spoilers for one of the end credit scenes for that show. So if you haven't seen it, you've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, those people should be gone. Everybody else is still here. It was shown that when Kamala Khan, when she got it from her bed, her band sort of started to sparkle, and then she was teleported somewhere, and in her place was Carol Danvers. So wherever Miss Marvel is where Carol Danvers was, which means she's in space somewhere. Hopefully, fingers crossed, she's not in deep space, floating around, because last time I checked, I don't think Miss Kamala Khan, she's still human. She can't breathe in space. So hopefully she's on a planet with air. Fingers crossed. Obviously, most likely, yes. But it'd just be funny is the fact of what happened to Kamala Khan. Oh, well, we found her body in deep space, frozen, because she died. I shouldn't laugh, but they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that, but it would be funny because I'm sick. Anyway, so yeah, I look forward to seeing what they do with the Marvels. Again, not much mentioned about it, but I'm excited to see it. Blade's another one that I'm excited for. Mahershala Ali. I feel like I'm butchering his name. I do apologize, but he was announced for it. It feels like ages ago he was announced for it, but nothing has seemed to come of it. The only sort of hint of Blade that we got was in an end credit scene for the Eternals, but we didn't see him. We heard his voice, but we didn't see him, and that's what I was wishful. We didn't see any of Blade. We just got a new logo, which is the old logo just done in red, which is fine. That's not the issue. There's no issue, but I wanted to see more. because the first time that we saw him, we didn't see him, we heard him. So again, they could have released some concept art. I want to know what he would look like. Is he going like he fights vampires? Where have the vampires been all this time? Is it going to be hard R? Are they going to have proper blood and gut like something that more like I haven't seen Morbius, but one of the biggest things that people said about Morbius was the fact of you could tell that the movie was shot to be something different. It was shot to be a lot more sort of gruesome, sort of grittier movie, but studio interference. Again, I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I've heard, or maybe that might be people who are Morbius fans and kind of wishful thinking. Again, I don't know. Um, but I just kind of hope that with Blade, like, they do the blood, they do the gore. I want to see it. I don't obviously I know they can't go full Wesley Snipes Blade, um, but something like that. I want to know about the vampires. I want to know what the vampires are going to look like. I want to know what Marshall Ali's going to look like. Like I've seen people make their own sort of concept art, but I want to see real sort of concept art, or at least something. Or they could have brought him out in his costume. Brought his costume out. Like, I wanted to see something from it. Is all. Um, so I was a bit ashamed they didn't show anything of Blade, but it's nice to have a date. So the November the 3rd, 2023. That's quite nice. Ironheart Fall 2023. That's a Disney Plus show. I don't know much about the Ironheart character, if I'm being completely honest. I know that she takes over for Tony Stark and becomes the new Iron Man, or shall we say the Iron Lady, or even Ironheart. Um, I don't know much about the character, but I do have a feeling that it's going to link in with Armor Wars. So I do look forward to Armor Wars whenever that comes out. Funny enough, Armor Wars wasn't mentioned either. Then again, they did just mention that the new shows that are coming, but Armor Wars not that looking. I don't think Armor Wars is mentioned, which again was quite odd. Um, but we're going to see the character Ironheart in Black Panther 2. So that's how we'll get introduced to her there. And will she get a suit there? Will Suri help her make her suit? I don't know. But I do have a feeling that Ironheart will link in with Armor Wars that comes out hopefully next year, unless they've changed the day. So I am looking forward to that one. Next, we've got Agatha Coven of Chaos, Winter 2023 to 2024. That is a Disney Plus show. Again, that's another show I'm looking forward to. I do have my theories about this show. Um, my theory is the fact of right. Again, there's going to be spoilers. Anybody who hasn't watched Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, again, by all means, quickly leave. But if you have seen Doctor Strange, by all means, stick around. So you've got until 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, so they're gone now. For anybody still around, if you've seen Doctor Strange, which hopefully you have, at the end of it, Wanda basically says that I have to destroy the Darkhold, and within doing so, she through all the multiverse, every single Darkhold is destroyed. Kind of like the whole House of M. If you've read the House of M sort of story, she basically stands up and goes, no. She says, no more mutants, and then all mutants sort of disappear and go. She gets rid of them all. She kind of did the same with the Darkhold. So she got rid of the Darkhold from all sort of realities. Then at the very end, when she's bringing it's like her castle, when she brings it down on top of her and sort of destroys it, right at the very end, if you pay attention, there's a quick sort of red flash, like a poof. Now you could say that red puff is the extinguishing of her light, the extinguishing of her powers, how that she's died, how like poof, it's over, her last hurrah. But I think that she brought the house down and that she teleported herself away, either to solace, or she's teleported herself away and Kang has taken her. Again, it's all of us a theory. It'd be pretty cool, if Kang, because Kang is like a collector. He likes to collect things. He's kind of like the collector. He likes to collect things, so that would be an interesting thing. That'd link it in with that as well. And maybe when we get around to doing the next Avengers movie, when Kang comes in, it will be announced like Wanda, she's been with me this whole time in stasis. I don't know. But where it comes back to Agatha Harkness is that if you remember correctly, Wanda had control of Westview, in WandaVision, and she relinquished her control, but she kept Agatha there as a prisoner. Prisoner in her own mind, as the character that Agatha created to live inside Wanda's imagination. So she's trapped her in that character. Um, but my theory is the fact of when Wanda sort of either killed herself or teleported away or whatever, or whenever she kind of relinquished her powers, the Darkhold, that she sort of lost control of Agatha. That Agatha kind of sort of went back to being herself, and that explains how we're going to get the Agatha Coven of Chaos. Is the fact of we might see a scene kind of like Agatha in Westview living a life, normal life, and then it's going to be like she's going to just like switch. She's going to flip, and then she's going to be and then she can be back to her old self, and then from there it's going to link in there, and maybe we get Doctor Strange. Maybe Doctor Strange comes in with Agatha, maybe, or maybe we get more witches. I don't really know much about Agatha, the character. All I know is that Agatha originally she was a babysitter for the Reed Richards family. So Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, they had kids, and they basically give the kids to Agatha to look after them. And then in later issues, you basically find out who she is, and you find out she's a very powerful witch. So Agatha's kind of like a nanny. She's evil, but she isn't evil. But I look forward to seeing what they do with it. Again, I don't really know much about the character other than what I've read little bits of, and who she was like in the MCU. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But that could be, that could be it. Scarlet Witch. She loses her controls, all her enchantments on this planet, on this reality, and Agatha's free. So that could be it. I'm excited to see Agatha again. Like, fantastic character, fantastic actor. I love her in everything that she's in. Top money, can't wait. Next, we have Daredevil Born Again. This sadly, like this coming out spring 2024, this sadly is going to be a Disney Plus show. Like we're bringing Charlie Cox is coming back, which is fantastic. I am glad he's back as Daredevil, but I kind of wish they would do him a movie. Because he came back in Spider-Man, and we saw hints of him, and we saw a quick sort of cameo from him in a new suit in She-Hulk, in the new She-Hulk trailer, which I will get onto in a minute. But like, I kind of just want a movie. I want another Daredevil movie. I feel like Charlie Cox, he's a fantastic actor. He's a fantastic as Daredevil. I want to film out of him. I feel like he deserves it. But will we get it? I don't know. But yeah, so again, not much said, but I look forward to seeing what they do there. Then you've got the next Captain America movie, Captain America New World Order. That comes out May the 3rd, 2024. Again, not much said about it, but looking at the logo, I'm getting real major sort of Captain America Winter Soldier vibes. So I really hope that it's going to be that sort of tone. New World Order, that could be anything. I don't know if will they bring back Hydra. Will they bring back Morden Zola? Have Zola like in his sort of, because in the comic books Zola, he's like a TV, like it's kind of like Kang. The only difference is instead of just like an alien inside of a giant sort of hairy body, it's actually a TV screen inside of like a robot sort of form. So maybe they might bring Zola back, and Zola might be sort of the next villain in it. I don't know. Maybe they'll bring back the Serpent Society. I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do there, but I'm getting major Winter Soldier vibes from that, so I look forward from it. And then finally, to wrap up Phase 5, I told you there was a lot here, is the Thunderbolts from July the 28th, 2024. This one is going to be one that I'm really excited for, because I love Thunderbolt Ross. Thunderbolt Ross is a fantastic character. I love Red Hulk. Sadly, this year we lost William Hunt. William Hurt. And he obviously sadly passed away, and I was a bit upset, not just because he's a fantastic actor, but also the fact of it meant that we probably won't see the Thunderbolts now, and we might not get that character, which I know might sound a bit selfish, but as a fan, it was a thing that sort of did sort of upset me, but having time to sit and think about it, I do have a theory of how they might sort of fix that. If you remember correctly, or if you remember it as best as you can, We last saw his character in Black Widow, and in Black Widow, I don't know if it was in the movie or if it was cut, but it was in the trailer that he had a walking stick and he looked quite frail and he looked quite ill. My theory is that before William Hurt was, because obviously he just passed away. Nobody knew that it was ill or something. He just passed away. So again, it wasn't something that was planned. But William Hurt, his character Ross, if you've seen him, he looks like he looks ill. He looks frail. He looks like something's happened to him, like he's dying, or that he is seriously ill. The character General Ross, not William Hurt. So what they could do is they could say that, oh, General Ross was going to die. So as a way to save himself, as a way to kind of make sure that he like to cure himself, because like you could say, for example, that all this time being exposed to gamma radiation, all this time being exposed to the Hulk, that he's got radiation poisoning or something like that. And in a way to counteract it, he devised a new serum to save his life. And then when he took the serum, he turned into the Red Hulk, and that they could do it that way. And then you could recast him, because one of the beauties of Red Hulk is the fact of Red Hulk doesn't turn back into General Ross. When he becomes the Red Hulk, he is the Red Hulk. There's no turning back. Not like where Bruce can go back to, he can switch from being the Hulk to Bruce, and She-Hulk can change from being herself to being the She-Hulk. He can't. When he's turned into the Red Hulk, that's it. So they could recast it that way, and they could get a guy who kind of somewhat sounds like him, maybe, or even they could be a completely new actor and be like part of the process. When he became the Red Hulk, his voice changed, obviously his face changed and his body changed, because again he became the Red Hulk, and you can recast him then, and you can say it's the same character, different actor, but because he's the Red Hulk, you won't know that. If you're trying to see what I'm trying to say, and I feel like that's the way they can get over that. Again, I'm not. That's how I would do it if I was Kevin Feige and I worked at Marvel. Maybe that's how they're doing it, or maybe they're going to do a completely different route. I don't know. But I do look forward to the Thunderbolts. There's already been set up for what the Thunderbolts might be. We've seen um, the Captain America ripoff in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we've seen him. He's there. You've got oh god, what's her name now? You've got Natasha's sister. Um, you know, she could become part of the Thunderbolts as well. We've got Baron Zemo. He could become part of it. You could even bring, if you don't want to bring in Red Hulk, which I really hope they do, but if they don't bring in Red Hulk, depending on the story that we get in She-Hulk, you could bring in Emil Blonsky and bring in Abomination, for the muscle. I look forward to seeing what they do with the Thunderbolts and who they decide to cast in that team. But like I said, I am sort of excited and worried at the same time what they do. Like, I just hope they bring in Red Hulk. That's all I want. I've got Hulk. I've got She-Hulk. Give me Red Hulk. That's all I'm asking for. And I feel like Kevin Feige will do that. And I feel like however they decide to do it will be the best decision for the character, for the memory of William Hurt, and for the right thing to do in general. So fingers crossed there. So that is phase 5. And look, there's a lot to say in phase 5. I'm knackered. I'm needing a drink, so I'm going to take a break. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about phase 6, which is not a very big one. Phase 6 is quite small. But yeah, I'm going to take a break and then have a quick breather. And then we'll come back and we'll do phase 6. Okay, then, let's get into it, guys. Right, so phase 6. This one's not going to be a very long one. There's only 3 things to announce in phase 6, because this one's far away in 2020, the end of 2024, and the middle to the end of 2025. So again, this list in the future might be expanded, but as of now, all they've announced is 3 things, and these 3 things are mind-blowingly crazy. So first off, straight off the bat, Fantastic Four, November the 8th, 2024. Again, nothing was mentioned, nothing was said. the only thing that I know of Fantastic Four is that they currently don't have a director. The director of this, I don't know, I can't remember his name, but the director they had for Fantastic Four was the guy that did the recent Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland. He was meant to do it. Um, Now he's gone off and he's doing something else. Um, I have a feeling that there was a reason behind that. Maybe it was the idea of like we're going to bring in John Krasinski to direct and be in the film as Mr. Fantastic, as he was in the Multiverse of Madness. Again, it's just a theory. Don't know. Um, there's been hints that they want to get Steven Spielberg in to do it. Again, that's completely like out of like, straight out of the frying pan and into the sun. That's like an idea that doesn't make sense, but would be absolutely insane if it's true. Um, so yeah, all I know as of yet is Fantastic Four currently doesn't have a director. We don't know the cast. But again, it's kind of like the Blade situation. It would have been nice just to get a little bit of being like, oh, um, we haven't got nothing to say about it as of yet, but the director is going to be X, Y, and Z, and then bring out the director. Um, that would have been enough, just to know, because it's nice to know that the movie's coming, but if we know who the director is, we can then try to piece together and try to figure out what type of movie it's going to be. So Taika Waititi, if you watched his movies before, you knew what kind of film the Thors were going to be. If you know what kind of films he makes, same with James Gunn and what sort of the movies that Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be, and Kenneth Branagh now what Thor was going to be, because Kenneth Branagh is a very sort of theatre sort of actor and theatre sort of director, and if you've seen any of his movies, you know that he likes to kind of do a lot of theatre, and Thor 1 is incredibly Shakespearean, you know. Um, so that's kind of the thing. I would have liked the hint of a director, but we didn't get it. But Fantastic Four coming in November the 8th, 2024. Can't wait. One of the key things for this movie is going to be the cast. You have to get a good, because it's the Marvel family, you know. Granted that like they don't, for what I remember correctly, I think they renewed it, but for a long time they cancelled the Fantastic Four story. Like the Fantastic Four, like they stopped doing the stories, and they did stop. I think they brought it back a year or two ago. I can't really remember, but I do remember they stopped the Fantastic Four sort of comic series because it wasn't popular. A lot of people weren't buying it, you know. And obviously with the Fan Four Stick, the recent sort of movie, which was had a good beginning and the rest was just pants. And then I grew up with the first two Fantastic Four movies. Again, they weren't fantastic, but I enjoyed them, you know. Um, so that's the key part is getting the family right, to getting the characters right. It's the same with Guardians of the Galaxy. That movie would have not been as good if the cast wasn't fantastic. So pardon me, that's what matters, is if they get that together. Now what would be amazing, if just thinking about it, is the fact of if they were like, oh well, James Gunn, you finished with Guardians of 3. If Guardians 3 is going to be the last sort of Guardians movie you make, do you want to have a go at doing Fantastic Four? That would be pretty amazing. I doubt it, but that'd be pretty amazing, because he already knows how to do sort of character driven sort of stories and huge cast like he did with uh, Peacemaker in Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy. He knows how to make those sort of movies. You know, that'd be a good one for him. But we'll see. Anyway, the next two films blew me. I couldn't believe when, like, the first one, I kind of had a feeling it would be. The second one blew me away. So the next one is Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. That comes out in May the 2nd, 2025. Um, I've been saying it. I've been saying that Kang is going to be the next Thanos. He's going to be the next big bad. A lot of people kind of doubted it. People were like, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's happening. Blah blah blah. Like, trust me. I kept saying, trust me, Kang, Kang, Kang. Just remember the name. Remember the character. Kang is going to be the next big bad, and I'm right. And this, I have a feeling, when I mentioned earlier about the multiverse wars, that the Kang Dynasty is going to be the multiverse wars. That's what that movie is going to be. It's going to be nothing but multiverse war, and I can't wait for it. And I'm really, really excited for that one. So that comes out on May the 2nd, 2025. And then finally, to end off Phase 6, we have Avengers Secret Wars. That comes out November the 7th, 2025. Wow, Secret Wars. Like, when they announced they were going to do Secret Invasion, I had no doubt that Secret Wars was going to come eventually. But again, it's one of them storylines that like Kang himself, I didn't think they would do, but just because how bombastic, like there's so much that leads into Secret Wars. There's so much that makes up that story, so many different stories and comic book threads that I didn't think they'd be able to do it because they didn't have all the characters. I know they always change things, and so I just, even though they like to change things in the MCU, they'd like to change storylines and how it works. I was just really, really excited to kind of see and kind of get a feeling of where they might go next with the character. Sorry about that if you heard about that. Then it was my brother shouting me. You never have privacy when you're doing podcasts. That's why I always do them early in the morning. But yeah, so I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do with Secret Wars. Again, not much is mentioned about Fantasy Four. Not much is mentioned about Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, or the Secret Wars. They will most likely change things as they always do with the storylines. So what I know of Secret Wars might not be what they do. It depends on how Secret Invasion and the rest of Phase 5 comes out. But I'm just excited. So that is Phase 6. Like I said, there's not much to it. It might get bigger as the years go on. But as of now, that is your lineup. That is everything. Phase 4's over. Phase 5 is just beginning. Phase 6 is way off, but gonna be hell of a. It's gonna blow people's minds. And yeah, so before I wrap things up, before I get to the end, I want to do some special mentions. I'm going to do their own little section because I feel like because they're special mentions, they deserve their own little section. So, on to the special mentions. So, on to the special mentions. So, for special mentions, I only got a few things to talk about. First of all, we got the brand new Black Panther trailer. Again, as I said at the beginning, Black Panther, I can take it or leave it. But as I said, because I was being naughty and I happened to be on Reddit and sort of look at the story synopsis and a bit extra details, like I said, from what I saw in the trailer and what I read about, they had a lot of similarities. Again, I didn't see the whole movie, so I don't know if it's going to be completely one to one. From what I saw in the trailer, you get to see they are sort of mourning the death of T'Challa. You also got to see Namor, and you got to see a little bit of, well, not really Atlantis, because that's where Namor comes from. Namor comes from Atlantis. Funny enough, actually, Namor's a mutant, but I don't know if they're going to go that route of him being a mutant, because if you've watched, what's it called, Ms. Marvel, then you'll see that she is the first mutant, quote unquote, in the MCU. So I don't know if he will also be a mutant or if it'll be the fact of, yeah, I am a mutant, but I've been a mutant. I've been alive for ages and ages. I've just been like asleep or whatever. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but like we saw Namor. Look, Namor looks amazing. Namor actually looks like an Aztec warrior. If you ever look at an Aztec, I think it's Aztec or Mayan Jaguar warrior, if you ever like Google that image, they look badass, and that's what sort of Namor looked like. So I look forward to seeing Namor the Submariner, have a bit more of him. And yeah, it looks like they're at war. It looks like they're having sort of a bit of a conflict. Are they at war with Namor? Are they sort of together with Namor to fight a common enemy? I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they're doing. Like I said, like the first Black Panther movie didn't really impress me. They had a few things that were great, but overall, it wasn't a movie where like it's not like, for example, I've collected all of the MCU movies in the sort of Infinity Gauntlet saga. I've got them all. The only ones I don't have are Captain Marvel and Black Panther. I've been meaning to get them because I'm not going to collect any of the newer series. I just want the original. But I never got Black Panther in the first place because, like I said, I just wasn't taken by it. It just didn't feel like, I don't know. I just wasn't for me, you know. So I hope that this new movie is going to be more up my alley. Now they've already what's the word? I'm always looking for a word, and that's my problem. I'm always looking for a word. I've got so many words that I can say, but I can never find the one that I want to say. Um, but because they've already done a lot of the foundation work, because they've done a lot of the hard work of trying to sort of like, this is Wakanda, this is the Wakandan people, these are the characters in Wakanda, because they've already done that, and obviously because sadly Chadwick Boseman, he passed away, and obviously his Black Panther is now being retired, that it now leaves it open to be like, okay, so we've now laid the groundwork, we've now got the story in place, now let's time to go off and do something else, and that is the adventure sort of side I'm looking forward to. I do want to read a few more Black Panther comic books and story threads. I know my library has a few of them, so I might check some out later. But yeah, the trailer looked really, really good. Like I said, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I look forward to seeing if it blows me away more than the first film did. So fingers crossed. The next trailer, special mention, is for the She-Hulk trailer. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, and I've mentioned it loads and loads of times before, um, in other episodes, I am a huge simp. I am a huge lover of She-Hulk. I am in love with the character. I am in love with the actor playing the character. So for me, this is just a sort of nerdgasm. You know what I mean? It's just a dream come true. Um, the trailer was great. There was a lot of they're doing a thing that I feel like is really, really cool. They're doing this whole where Carol will look towards the camera. So like there's something could happen in the scene, kind of like Malcolm in the Middle, where like the character will look into the scene and then they'll turn to the camera and talk to the audience, and that happens a few times in the trailer, and I like that. That's what I was kind of hoping for. I was kind of hoping for a very sort of like like not like a soap opera, but I'm looking for like a very cheesy sort of kind of like Gossip Girl sort of thing, sort of story, mixed in with the Marvel, fixed in with the Law and Order of it, because if anybody's ever read a She-Hulk comic book, they know that She-Hulk is not a serious character. She-Hulk has actually been breaking the fourth wall long before Deadpool. Has been breaking the fourth wall. A lot of the She-Hulk stories are quite silly, are quite comical, especially when you went to the full Law and Order sort of side of it. When you went the full sort of side of her being an actual lawyer, then it got a lot of very, very silly and quite campy, but in such a good way. So I look forward to seeing what they do. As I said, I'm just in love with the character. So for me, it's a big sort of, I've been saying for ages, like if anybody knows how to get me onto the She-Hulk press junket. Not even be. I even would just be to publicize it. You know what I mean? Just be like, here you go. Here's a package of stuff, and unbox it, and advertise it to people to get people interested in the show, or we're going to sponsor the show or anything like that. Even if it's not as fact if I don't get to interview any of the characters or any of the actors, that's completely fine with me. I just want to be involved because I love the character. I love Hulk. I love She-Hulk. I just want to be in the middle of it all. So if anybody knows anything, if anybody hears anything, just let me know on Twitter, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get into the cool She-Hulkness. So fingers crossed. So there's that. That's the two trailers that were shown. One thing that I do want to mention also is that I'm quite surprised that there was no Eternals mentioned at all. Um, afterwards, I did see Kevin Feige. He was asked a question by press, and one of the questions was, "What about Star Fox?" Which was one of the Harry Styles' character that was shown in an end credit scene after the end of Eternals. And if anybody doesn't know, Star Fox is Thanos' brother. Um, and basically, Kevin Feige said, we have plans for him, and he will appear soon. Now, if that's just him on his own with Pip, or is it him and the other Eternals? I don't know. It did say at the end of Eternals that the Eternals will return, but I'm a bit confused because I liked the Eternals movie. I did the first ever review I ever did on my podcast was Eternals. It was my second episode, which actually did quite well. It's actually one of my most successful episodes, even though at that time I had no idea what I was doing. But even so, I did enjoy it. There were some ups and downs, and I still state to this day that it really should have been a Disney Plus show first and then a movie. Um, but I did like the characters. I liked what they were trying to do. I liked that it was different, you know. And I was looking forward to kind of like the Black Panther sort of idea of like now they've laid the foundations, now you know the characters and the lore, that it should be easier to do a sequel. And I was kind of hoping that they was going to announce a sequel or announce other things, but I don't know. I don't know how the Eternals fits in with um, the rest of what's coming. Because like at the end of Eternals, so anybody who hasn't watched it again, I know it's about a almost 3 hour long movie. I understand that. So for a lot of people, it's probably they don't want to watch it. But if anybody's watched Eternals, at the end of it, Arsharam the Judge, who's a giant celestial, stands forth of humanity and basically says that you will be judged and I will come back to judge you all. And in doing so, he then takes, is it? I think it's Cersei. I think it's Cersei. He takes a few of the Eternals with him that are left on Earth, and then disappears in like a black hole, sort of wormhole. Just disappears, and he says he's coming back to judge the planet. When and where, this was the same sort of conversation I had with a friend of mine. They listened to my Doctor Strange review, and we were talking about it afterwards. And they brought up a good point. They basically said, well, America Chavez, she's a good character, but where do they take her? Where does she pop up? And that's a good point. Now you've added her. It's all great having the character, and yeah, you've put her, but where would she fit? Anywhere in the MCU, apart from another Doctor Strange movie. Maybe Agatha's, maybe to do with Agatha, maybe. I doubt it, but you could. Like, do you keep her with the magic users? Do you put her with, like, would she appear in Ant-Man, Quantumania? Because again, she can go from dimension to multiverse, and the quantum realm is its own sort of little miniverse anyway. So again, like, that was my question. When are we going to see her again? And it's the same with the Eternals, is the fact of, well, where are we going to see the Eternals again? Where are the Eternals going to appear? And I'll be honest, I don't know. Are we going to have? When are we going to have the Eternals too? When are they going to be together? And when is Ashram the Judge going to come back and judge the Earth? You know what I mean? It just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And obviously, you see all the memes online where I've seen loads of them where people go, when are any of the other sort of MCU TV shows or movies going to address the fact that there's a giant sort of stone robot just hanging out of the earth, out of the ocean? Because it's true, it is. If you was to look at the MCU Earth, say from the moon, as it turned round, you would just see a giant head and hand just peering out the one end of the earth. So when's that going to get sort of mentioned? There are theories. I have heard of people say theories that maybe Namor was in hibernation, that Atlantis has sunk to the ocean, and that the Namor and the Atlanteans were asleep, and that the life energy that was used to imbue the celestial with life was transferred to the rest of the planet, which then awakened Namor and his people. And then maybe, that's how he, why he's awake and why he's now around. I don't know. Again, it's just a theory. I like it. It's a good theory. It makes sense. But again, I don't like to make so many theories, mainly because, like, I know that I've said it before and I say it again. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. Kevin Feige is a very clever man. I never doubt him in anything that he does, especially when it comes to the MCU. So I have a feeling, even though I don't know where the Eternals will show up and how you'll ever use them and so on and so forth, but I don't know. I was just shocked that they weren't mentioned, that was going to be in the slate. Now, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, things change, movies to be announced. D23 is still going to happen, so by all means, Armor Wars can be mentioned. That was another thing that wasn't mentioned, but we know he's coming. Armor Wars might get mentioned there. Again, it might be the same with Eternals 2. I haven't got anything to say yet, but maybe deals and contracts are being finalized and blah 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 blah. Who knows all the legal stuff? The point is, there's still time to add it in somewhere. Where and when, I don't know. Hopefully they do. But if they don't, again, where would they turn up? Because, like you said, the Eternals, they're quite powerful. Where would they show up? So this is the question. And when we see more Celestials? I haven't seen Thor 4 yet, Thor: Love and Thunder, but I've seen the trailer and I know two of the Celestials appearing there. So again, I don't know. Maybe there is some hints there or whatever. I need to watch the film first. But yeah, there's a lot of questions that I've got. But it was just a bit strange that it wasn't mentioned. And the next special mention that I want to mention, see what I did there, is Deadpool. Deadpool wasn't mentioned at all, which I'll be honest, I kind of was infected by speculitis. If anybody doesn't know what speculitis is, it's a rare disease that you get when you speculate too much on things. It's speculitis. um, it's a little sort of plan word. It's a joke. It's funny. I find it funny. But basically, I was infected by speculitis, and I speculated that because Disney had announced that Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2, and Logan are now coming to Disney Plus, and they're going to be the first ever R rated Disney Plus show. That the idea is the fact of, well, if you've announced them a day or two before, that maybe, Ryan Reynolds would come out and say, oh, Deadpool 3 is going to be Deadpool and Logan, or Deadpool and Logan versus the one, that sort of thing. And I was just kind of hoping and that maybe, Ryan Reynolds would come out and he would just be like, yeah, I've got a friend here who wants to see you all. And you know, what's his name? Oh God, bring Hugh Jackman out. But sadly that never happened. Nothing like that. But I was just shocked. There was no mention of Deadpool. Like, we know they're working on Deadpool. We know Ryan Reynolds is working with it, and his writing team are currently on it. It would have been, again, it's another one of them things of like, I know D23, they're still at D23 and they're probably saving a lot of their heavy hitters for D23. I get it. But again, it's one of them things of like, it would have been nice for like, oh yeah, Deadpool 3, it's happening. Where it slots in, we haven't decided, we don't know yet, but it's part of phase 4. Or it's part of phase 5, or it's part of phase 6, you know. Um, because that's going to be a fun one. When Deadpool comes in, that's going to be fun because you just know that Ryan Reynolds is going to rip the shit out of the MCU. He's going to rip the piss out of the Mouse House, out of Mickey Mouse, and it's just going to be hilarious. But there was no mention. But like I said, one thing I will say, and I know I've repeated myself a couple of times, but D23 is only around the corner. I know it seems a way off, but in all fairness, it's usually around the end of the year, around Christmas time, around November, sort of Christmas time. So I look forward to D23. A lot of big things to be announced then and sort of brought up. But yeah, that is all she wrote. That is everything. I don't know how long this episode's been going on for. Probably the longest one I have done in a very long time. But overall, I'm excited. I really, really am excited. I know I said it at the beginning, and I'm going to repeat it now. But this is why I said to loads of people, friends, family, strangers. This is why I said to a lot of people, don't doubt Kevin Feige. Granted, Phase 4 was a bit rocky, and there were things on it that seemed a bit off and didn't make sense. But I just knew that they were going to make sense eventually. And I had a feeling that Phase 4 was the foundation. Phase 4 was the Phase 1, when you have Captain America and Iron Man and all that, where it's just building up the characters, building up the world, and then you have Avengers. That's what I knew this was. This was building up to the multiverse. And then, lo and behold, as it was announced last night, that the multiverse saga has begun. So I knew that's what it was setting up. I knew that's what they were going for. And I knew it would be a slow rise to get there. It would just take time. But now it's finally there. Things are going to be very gung-ho and just sort of go for it. So there's a lot to look forward to in movies. There's a lot to look forward to in Disney Plus. Generally, it's a good time to be a nerd, and it's a good time to be a Marvel fan. It really, really is. I just wish that, this is not a burn. This is not sort of taking the piss. Like, generally, I'm being generally serious and honest when I say this. I just wish that the DCU was doing the same thing. That they were doing character by character. Then they do the big sort of setup Justice League movie. Then they go off, do a few sequels, introduce new characters, maybe like Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter, and then maybe bring in, I don't know, Hulk Girl, Atom Smasher, and all that. Have their own sort of solo movies, and then do another Justice League, that sort of thing. Kind of like what Marvel did. They did the Iron Man, they did Captain America, they did Thor, they did Hulk. They set it all up, and then once it's all set up, then they do the big sort of gung ho, the big sort of Avengers movie. That's what I wish the DC was doing. I think DC and now are starting to do it. They're sort of like retcon a lot of things, and even though Ezra Miller situation is going quite sort of down the drain. I feel like with their new Flash movie, they can kind of use the Flash movie, the Flashpoint, to kind of erase a lot of the things that they want to erase and sort of start anew. So we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. They will see what decide to route they'll take. Black Adam looks good. Shazam looks good. We will see what happens. But it's a good time to be a nerd. Comic Con's great. Maybe one year I'll get to go to San Diego and sort of, because I go to Comic Con here in the UK, but I've never been to America. So maybe one day I'll get to go and report live. But yeah, that is all she wrote. I'm going to stop babbling Mao. Yeah, that's my new name, babbling Mao. I'm going to stop babbling now, and we're going to end it nicely. All right then. All right, guys, let's get to the end, shall we? Right, so we are at the end. That is all she wrote. She had finished her song and she's gone to lie down. I know I'm knackered. I had to take a big break after the doing phase five. Phase five was a lot to talk about, and phase four, and I took a big break before I did the special mentions. But it's finished. We're over. We're done. We can all rest and relax. But yeah, so let me know what you think. Are you excited for phase five? Are you excited for phase six? Are you sad to see phase four end? Let me know down below on Twitter at nerdstalgic_pod. You can also find this podcast on Spotify. You can find it on Anchor. You can find it on Google Podcasts, and you can find it on Amazon Music Podcasts. Also, you can find the Nerdstalgic podcast on YouTube. Just search the Nerdstalgic podcast. Look for my flaming face, and you'll find me there. Also, if you listen to this on Spotify, don't forget to give me a star rating. If you go to my account on Spotify, underneath my name is a little star. Click on the star, and then you get to a choice from five stars to 1 star. 5 stars being the best thing you ever heard in your life. 1 star is Vogon's doing poetry, absolutely the worst thing you ever heard in your life. Your ears are bleeding and you want to die. Basically. Also, don't forget to check out World of Books. They're the sponsor of the show and of this episode, so thank you very much to them. I love them all. Hopefully, they're listening to let them know how much I love them, and for them to know how much you love them. Check out their website. Use the code NERDY10. That's all higher case. Nerdy NERDY 10, all higher case. Do that in at the checkout and get 10% off any and all things that you buy from them. So that is me. I am Luke. I am done. I am tired. I am very, very tired, but it was worth it because I get to nerd out with you folks, and it's always a pleasure to nerd out with you folks. So, as always, thank you for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I genuinely love you all, and yeah, that's been the Nerdstalgic podcast. So, thank you for listening. Cheerio.